What's up, you guys? This is Gabriel. Um, I took a break from YouTube last week after finishing my walkthrough on the episodic game Sonic 4, and I decided to do this video on another of those how movies and games should go. And this video is more like about how a possible film could have gone, but whether or not if it's how it could have or how it should go, or whether or not if it's something that's just not going to happen. um Basically, you know, in case if you guys know, if you've ever heard of the franchise Dragon Ball, the manga, and of course the anime, it's one of the best franchises of all time. And in 2009, we had a live action film based on the Dragon Ball franchise, and it was Dragon Ball Evolution. And a lot of Dragon Ball fans, a lot of people, they didn't like that movie. 20th Century Fox, okay, they lost a lot of money to that. And I'm guessing Akira Toriyama didn't like the idea of that movie happening. And even the cast, especially Justin Chatwin, who portrayed Goku in Dragon Ball Evolution, he didn't really seem. He kind of regretted. In fact, not kind of. He regretted playing Goku in that movie, And I'm guessing it's because he felt that he's just nothing like Sean Shamel, who voiced Goku in the English version of the anime. And basically, this was going to happen one day, but due to how Dragon Ball Evolution became a failure, it didn't happen. And basically, what I was going to talk about is, the Dragon Ball Evolution sequel and how it could have gone, and how it could have been better than the one which at this point would have been considered the first movie if it received a sequel. So basically, how would a sequel to Dragon Ball how would a sequel to Dragon Ball Evolution go? Well, first let me tell you something. You know, like I said, you know, a lot of people didn't like the live action film. Basically, Dragon Ball Evolution was nothing like the anime or the manga. And whenever we have, a project that's based on some other project, if it's a movie and it's live action and it's based on a cartoon or an anime, comic, manga, or whatever the heck it is, you know, the adaptations tend to be a little bit different. Some people like that idea, some people don't. And whether or not if it's supposed to be different when they make it that way, it all just depends on how they go about it. And for something like Dragon Ball Evolution, like I was just trying to say here, it just didn't really go well. I mean, Goku, unlike how he was in the anime, Goku in Dragon Ball Evolution, he wasn't really, goofy or energetic as much. But, you know, one thing's for sure, which he was at times in the anime, especially when his friends got in trouble, he did get serious. And and of course, again, with the being different thing, okay, Goku, wanted to be normal in Dragon Ball Evolution versus in the anime, he's always up for adventure, always training a lot. And despite wanting a normal life in Evolution, he did agree to, keep himself prepared for desperate situations, which is what his grandpa Gohan prepared him for. And another thing, too, And I believe they would have been focused more on doing this in the sequel, okay? Goku's wife Chi Chi, the anime, the manga, okay? When she met Goku in the original Dragon Ball, she seemed very obsessed with him. Almost like any fangirl when they see their favorite hero and it's a guy that they somehow fall in love with and want to start a relationship with them. You know, she basically wanted a lot of attention. She wanted to just be around him a lot, and next thing they get married towards the end of the original Dragon Ball, and as Dragon Ball Z progressed, as Dragon Ball Super progressed, okay, Goku and Chi Chi are married. Yeah, yeah. As Dragon Ball Z progressed, Goku and Chi Chi are married. They have children, Gohan, Goten, and Chi Chi is basically a helicopter parent, which by the looks of things, a lot of Dragon Ball fans don't really like how she is in the anime, especially with her children. And not to mention the fact that despite how upset she may be at Goku not being around as much and not necessarily working to make any money or even be upset about how dumb he is, she refuses to be very understanding on how important it was for Goku to learn moves and be prepared for desperate situations, which at times their children Gohan and Goten found themselves into. And no matter how many times they tried to save the world, Chi Chi didn't really seem thankful of it. She didn't seem to care if the world was in danger or not. And if you watch the live action film, Dragon Ball Evolution, okay, Chi Chi seems to be a little more understanding of Goku in that movie because, look, they meet each other in school after Goku helps her open this cage thing or homework assignment cage thing where she tried to get her assignment out. And although she likes him and he likes her, Chi Chi was not overly obsessed with him like she was in the anime, but they did seem to like each other. And she invited Goku over for a party, but the moment Goku sensed that something was wrong with his grandpa, he had to go and help him. And although Chi Chi seemed a little disappointed that Goku ran off, she knew why he did it. She didn't get mad at him, she didn't threaten him. She understood what happened to his grandpa. But this is not how she was in the anime. She really didn't understand why he had to stop these villains from trying to destroy the world. And of course, in Dragon Ball Super, although Goku was still seeking further strength and still trying to save the world, he did try to do something different for once by working as a farmer, okay? And based on Chi-Chi's character in Dragon Ball Evolution, if Dragon Ball Evolution had a sequel, to me, it's just very likely that both Goku and Chi-Chi would have had Gohan in a Dragon Ball Evolution sequel, and both of them would agree to train Gohan and keep him prepared for desperate situations. Heck, even give him some comfort and some encouragement if he felt like he wasn't good enough. And he tried to confess that all he wanted to do was show how much he appreciates for keeping the world safe and for looking out for him. And I think if a Dragon Ball Evolution sequel went like that, then it would have been a little bit better than the first. And yeah, this would have been really good. And on top of all of that, I look, For any of you who may be watching this video and who may be fans of Dragon Ball, if you guys didn't like Evolution, that's okay. But I just want you to see it from my perspective. And I'm not going to force you guys, alright? I'm not going to. But if you guys have seen Evolution before, whether or not if you guys have liked that movie, if you guys could basically, if you guys know how Chi-Chi is in that movie, unlike how she was in the anime, you know, basically, I just felt that despite how terrible Dragon Ball Evolution was, 20th Century Fox seemed to have tried to make Chi-Chi into a much better character, unlike how she was in the anime. Now, of course, Akira Toriyama, the creator of the Dragon Ball franchise, okay, I still like him, and I still like what he did. I still like what he created, and he had a good way of inspiring us. I mean, I still don't like how Chi-Chi was in the anime, but, although I do like how she was in Evolution, I still do prefer the anime. I mean, I finished watching the original Dragon Ball. I finished watching Z. I'm currently watching Dragon Ball Super right now. And, I still haven't finished Super just yet. I didn't get to GT just yet, although a lot of you may say that GT is not canon, but whether or not, Chi-Chi really didn't change. She didn't change. And in Evolution, she didn't have to worry about that because, if you see how she is in Evolution as the movie progresses, you can tell that she's, she understands what happens when the world is in danger. And again, if a sequel happened, she would definitely agree to train Gohan. Heck, along with Goku. And as far as how Goku is in Evolution is concerned, if he wanted to, Goku could do something similar to Superman or Spider-Man, where they get jobs as reporters, and depending on what's going on, they would have to go out. He would go out there and try to take care of the threat, like he always does. And another thing on how Evolution could have gone, how a Dragon Ball Evolution sequel could have gone. If you, in Dragon Ball Evolution, we see Goku meeting Bulma and Yamcha, and Master Roshi is there, but we didn't see Krillin. We didn't see Vegeta or anyone like that. And for villains, we have Piccolo, we have Mai, but we didn't see Emperor Pilaf or whoever their dog friend was. We didn't see any Red Ribbon Army characters. I mean, where the heck are those? And basically, based on how Dragon Ball Evolution went, by not including the Red Ribbon Army characters or any of the, and heck, not even including Goku's best friend Krillin, basically having both the King Piccolo saga and the Uzaru saga mixed up, to be honest, it really felt like that there was too much forced into that movie that they just couldn't save for a sequel. I mean, maybe they could have saved the King Piccolo thing for a sequel and just have Goku's Uzaru thing as the main focus in the movie. And it could have been better that way. And you know what I mean by Uzaru, right? The great ape. And as far as Chi-Chi's character is concerned, and which version of Dragon Ball you guys like is concerned, whether or not if you prefer the anime over Dragon Ball Evolution, if you guys still did not like how Chi-Chi was in the anime, and you do deep down like how she was in Dragon Ball Evolution, despite how terrible that movie is, then I don't blame you. Because I don't really like how Chi-Chi was in the anime either. And I really like how she was in Evolution. I mean, look, I have the film, and before I bought it, I checked it out at the library once, and I don't know how many times I've watched it. I mean, even I kind of felt that it wasn't really the best, but after noticing Chi-Chi's character and stuff, okay, I really liked that. And if a sequel happened, if it received sequels, I really would have loved to see Chi Chi treat her children exactly the way she should have treated them in the anime. And again, I really liked Akira Toriyama for what he did. I still like the franchise he created. I still enjoy it. Because, like I said, I'm currently watching Super right now. I already finished the OG Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. I will finish all the animes. But, no matter which franchise you watch, when you notice something odd about certain characters and you notice how they are, and the fact that they've never changed, this is where growing up comes. And you start to feel like your childhood is ruined in a way, you know? And I know this is a different franchise, but just take a look at what Sega has done with Amy Rose, for example. Okay? From 1993 to 2011, okay, Amy Rose was overly obsessed with Sonic and always upset at him for forgetting their dates and so on. And ever since Sonic Lost World came out, Sega basically decided to do something different with Amy, where she is not overly obsessed with Sonic as much, and she doesn't go on about anything like marriage or dates or anything like that. They're basically trying to redo Amy. And now with the movie franchise that's been around since 2020, Paramount is making Amy even better. And, you know, again, this is a different franchise, but look, Sega, ever since Sonic Lost World came out, they're making Amy a lot better. And and right now, since 2021, which was just a year after the first Sonic movie came out, okay, Sega's either remastering or remaking some of their previous Sonic games, and they're trying to redo Amy in some of those. I mean, they just did that in a remastered version of Sonic Generations, okay, and this is pretty good. This is something Akira Toriyama could have done with Chi-Chi, but he didn't. And even though Dragon Ball Evolution turned out terrible, 20th Century Fox, they tried to make Chi-Chi into a better character. And I would have loved to see how healthy her relationship with Goku and their children would have been if a sequel were to happen. And of course, because, they lost money due to the failure of Dragon Ball Evolution, it's not going to happen. And this movie came out in 2009, and in that same year, 20th Century Fox 20th Century Fox released another film that turned out terrible, and that was X-Men Origins Wolverine. And as for the Sonic franchise, basically, knowing how Amy currently is now ever since Sonic Lost World came out. Sonic Lost World came out in 2013, and because Amy Rose debuted in Sonic CD in 1993, 2013 was basically the 20th anniversary for Amy Rose. And when she was in Sonic Lost World, Sega decided to do something different with Amy, where she is not overly obsessed with Sonic as much. And she understands that Sonic needs to protect the world no matter what. And I really like what they're doing here. And I know I'm going all over the place, especially with these different franchises I talked about, but the point I'm trying to make is if a Dragon Ball Evolution sequel happened, then I'm pretty sure that Chi Chi, Goku, Gohan, and maybe even Goten would be in a much balanced situation where, yes, keep up with studies, but also learn really great moves to prepare for desperate situations. I mean, they couldn't balance that out in the anime. Why? Again, I still enjoy the anime, but it could have been a little better, you know? And as for Akira Toriyama, again, I really like the franchise he created. And he died last year. And even though I didn't like how he had Chi Chi, I don't think I would have felt right in talking with him about how he had Chi Chi's character. If I saw him right now, I would just tell him, Akira, you are the best creator of the best well-known franchise that you've created. No matter what anybody else thinks. Heck, no, not even no matter what I think. I think you're the best. So, what do you guys think? Do you guys think a Dragon Ball Evolution sequel could have been better? Do you think because of how Chi Chi was in Dragon Ball Evolution, she could have had a much better situation with Gohan and even Goten, unlike how she was in the anime? Whoever you guys are that's watching this video, just let me know in the comments after you guys watch this video. And I'll see you guys next time. So long.